Everybody, welcome to the earliest alert. A lot to break down here on this Thursday as we set the stage here for the arrival of Harvey. Now today, this is just the outer band, really far out from the normal extension there of Harvey itself. But it is going to allow for at least some spotty showers for a bit longer, then it'll fade out. But I'm noticing some new development right in through here, right along the parkways too, kind of responding to a bit of sun that picked up here this morning. So again, can't run an isolated downpour in a few spots, but most of this activity again is going to be way to our south, and this is not the main part, because the main part of Harvey is way down here, northeast areas of Louisiana. Now, the question that has developed in the past 24 hours is the exact path of that core. Some of the models try to take it just west of 65 and then turn it to the east. Some take it more right over Nashville, right over, say, portions of Campbellsville, then to the east. So it doesn't seem like a dramatic difference when you look at it in that sense, but it will be when it comes to rain totals because of how this is wound up. It is going to be that how things wrap around the core of that low itself. That's what's going to make a big difference in the overall rain totals when that core is decided on. So the rain total map is going to be adjusted in time as we get closer, so just kind of keep that in mind. But it's coming. We know that, and we know we're going to get some rain. We just got to figure out how much and exactly where. So let's do the models, and I'll show you the short range, and then we'll see how things are trending. First off, what I always like to do is show you the current radar so you can see how well it verifies. Here's the current radar that we have. Now let me show you what the HRRR model says as far as where the rain should be right now. And it's got the placement right, but as you can tell, it's way overdone. It looks like a tense line of thunderstorms coming through here in southern Kentucky. So that's a common trait of the HRRR model to kind of do that. But you can certainly see where the placement is, spotty showers in southern Kentucky. So what does the HRRR model do? Well, it keeps that activity around, but breaks it up as expected throughout the midday period. And then later in the frame, you start to see the arrival then of the actual core moving in. And the model, this is a short range model, so I can't go out further than that. But it looks like it's going to head toward the Nashville area and southern areas of Kentucky. It looks like is where that core is going to be on the HRRR model anyway. Let's look at the RPM. Again, there's the current radar. Here's where the rain should be. RPM actually did pretty good on intensity overall. It shows everything fizzling out, which that's actually the forecast trend that we have. With temperatures then being, even with a hazy sky, being allowed to get into the 80s for later today. And then tonight, here comes the core rain bands after 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, our southern counties. And then it looks like it's going to take the center a bit more to the east than the other models. But look what happens. It kind of retrogrades. You see that little effect there as we had all day Friday and Friday evening. Kind of wants to slide backwards a bit as we head into Saturday morning. Now, it's going to be expanding and weakening, and that's a typical trait of tropical systems that become extra tropical. They're really tightly wound initially, then as they weaken and become just areas of low pressure, the bands, the spiral bands, stretch out further, and everything becomes weaker. All right, and that's the general trend on Saturday. So yes, so even if it does linger a bit, the bands won't be as heavy, but it may keep the rain in the forecast a bit longer, and that's what we'll have to be monitoring for Saturday's forecast. But as far as Friday, the core of it still looks to be over Kentucky. NAM model showing again pretty good on the placement, a bit overdone on the intensity. But it too breaks up the rain later this morning, so again, pretty good forecast. I like that. And then later tonight, here comes the rain band moving into Indiana. And notice it starts to become more focused in the northern and the northwest quadrants of the NAM model is seen as we head into the afternoon period. And look at the numbers. We actually go from the mid to upper 60s in the morning, and we fall to like 59 or to 60 in the afternoon. That's chilly, and we're going to see that. We're going to see areas where the heavier rain pockets are. The temperature will drop down to like 60, 59, 58 even for a while. And then when the rain eases again, or it stops altogether, the thermometer will catch back up and rise back into the lower 60s. So there is a chance that the areas that see a constant heavy rain during lunch tomorrow into the afternoon, you may be in the 50s the entire daylight portion anyway of the day tomorrow. And that is remarkable and would be normally a record, but the record goes by midnight to midnight. The record for the coolest high we've ever had for the first day of September in Louisville, 65 degrees, way back in 1892. We may be at or above 65 at midnight tonight. So even if we do drop to about 59 or so tomorrow afternoon, the heavier rain bands, it wouldn't be the record. But still, doesn't matter. It is going to be chilly when these heavy rain bands move through and along with those gusty winds. And then the NAM model does pull it out eventually on Saturday, but holds on to the clouds for a while, it looks like. Here's the GFS. It's got a good placement as well. It actually tries to redevelop the band later this afternoon along the parkways and just south of there. And then as we get into tonight, here comes that core of rain. Now, this is not as high a resolution as the other models, so it kind of just broadens out the intense band. Just little pockets of heavy rain is one big blob of red. But it, too, shows the cool weather. 59, 60 degrees, that heavier pocket. We've got to nail down that core track of that low, though, because, again, it's going to be that northwest quadrant, the deformation zone, if you will, like we talk about into the winter season when we talk about the heavy snow bands. It's the same kind of deal. Wherever those little banding features set up, that's where we're going to get some impressive rain totals. But, man, just a 40, 50-mile jog in the track of that low could make a difference if you get 1 or 2 inches or if you get 4 to 6 inches of rain in your neighborhood. It could be that dramatic. But we think we overall have a good handle that everybody has at least a chance at 2 inches of rain. It's trying to nail down who's going to get those higher totals. All right, and then the GFS model also lingers the low around, slows things down a bit Saturday, and then by Saturday night we slowly get rid of it. All right, so overall, the model outputs for Louisville only, just to give you an example, are averaging close to 3 to 4 inches of rain. So I think our map that we've been showing about the 2 to 4 to 2 to 6 inch range should hold put pretty well for a good chunk of Kentucky. Indiana, you guys are the questionable part because that expansion, especially as we into Saturday, that may give you closer to the 1 to 2 inch totals that we have already for you guys. But we'll watch this. But it still looks like Central Kentucky is going to take the brunt of this one on rain. So the flash flood watch right now, it does not include all of our counties. But it does try to aim toward the path where the low comes in from the south and then it turns to the right. And so it's betting on that heavier northwest section of the low to be where the heavier rain for flash flooding, river flooding. We'll get to that in a second. But for flash flooding, urban flooding on the streets, that's where it looks to take place. But if the track is a little more to the west, northwest, then that heavier band would set up shop a little more to the north. And that would mean the expansion of those flash flood watches. So, it's not set in stone. Stay close to the forecast. Look at your area rivers. For example, let's look at the Ohio, and overall everything's looking pretty good. In fact, it's fairly low. A lot of the rivers are. So we're not too concerned about river flooding. It's going to be the flash flooding kind of a deal that we're talking about here. Then we got to watch the track because on the southeast section, we talked about this early in the week. That is where you're going to have any type of southeast wind. That's where you're going to have the potential for some rotating thunderstorms that can produce some brief tornadoes that can develop. It's only going to be in the southeast quadrant of wherever that track is. Storm Prediction Center for today, as the low approaches, says that'll be closer to Nashville. And then tomorrow, if it keeps that track right across, say, Campbellsville, then that southeast quadrant wind, where temperatures could make it to 80, by the way, during the day on Friday, that is where your brief tornado spin up is possible. And right now, it's barely into wave country at all. But if that track, again, is a little more west, then we may have to watch, say, Bardstown and perhaps even E-Town to be added to that threat. And an opposite effect, if that track is just a couple of counties over to the right, then we're in the clear altogether. So, a couple of counties makes a big difference here, guys, on this one. All right, looking ahead after that, next week, around Monday and Tuesday, models trying to hint at another tropical system trying to develop in the Gulf of Mexico. Texas and Louisiana does not like that. But what's interesting about that is it wouldn't take the same kind of deal as what Harvey did, but it would likely try to move north into Kentucky, and that's exactly what the Euro especially is trying to do, is move it north into Kentucky about a week from today with another round of rain and chilly air. We'll see if that happens, because if the cold air that moves in Wednesday of next week, if that front is strong enough, that would take anything that forms in the Gulf and it would shove it more off the eastern seaboard. So timing's everything on whether or not we get impacts from Jose. That would be the next name. And I say Jose because we already have Irma on the map. Irma is located way out in the Atlantic, and the GFS operational takes it in the northeast part of the country, and the Euro takes it back into the Caribbean, into the Bahamas. So don't worry about Irma yet. A long way off. But what a mess of a forecast here, guys. The next 7 to 10 days. A lot to monitor, and timing is going to be the key factor in all this. So it's going to be a busy morning for us. Make sure to stay tuned for Ryan's forecast later today. And, of course, we'll have you covered on Sunrise, so make sure to tune in. Oh, I didn't hit stop.